Hey guys, how's it going? And today I have a Moskva replay for you, sent in by Bunny of the Fleet. Now, the Moskva is a Tier 10 Russian heavy cruiser, but heavy cruiser is an odd designation for it, due to its size and the size of its guns, and just how the guns and armor on the ship act. In a cruiser aspect, it does have very good anti-aircraft, and it is a very fast ship, but that's kind of where the similarities end, other than I guess the high rate of fire on the guns. The guns are bigger than any other cruiser in the game at 220mm and have a very fast shell travel time, as this broadside to Des Moines is about to figure out, as he takes 36,000 damage right at the start of the game. I'm sure he won't be too happy with that. But as I was saying, fairly fast reload on these at I believe 7.5 seconds, and they kind of act just like battleship guns. And really, this thing doesn't even look like a cruiser in the game. It's basically the size of a Yamato, if a Yamato could pump out high explosive really quickly and set your ship on fire all the time. And it also does not turn very well and takes a lot of damage from torpedoes. So yeah, in all aspects, this is basically a small battleship. Its armor from the front is also very trollish. It is one of the only ships in the game, if not the only, to have an angled front citadel that comes to a point, meaning it's extremely rare to even get a citadel through the front if you even pen its bow and deck armor, since it's so sloped and it's so thick that most ships have an issue with it. Now, Bunny's looking at this broadside Baltimore to see if he can do to the Baltimore what happened to the Des Moines. But the Baltimore is slightly angled, and the Moskva shells don't really like it when a ship is angled against them, at least at extreme angles. And Bunny's shots weren't totally amazing in that sense. But the Baltimore did turn broadside, Bunny did finally land some hits, and scored a citadel on the Baltimore, and a little bit of damage as he hides behind the island. Now, like I said, the shells have a fast travel time, which means they have a really low arc. Now, what this means when you're trying to shoot over an island is that your opponent may be able to shoot over it, but you're definitely not going to be able to, as your shells will just, hit the dirt. But Bunny won't have to worry about this for long. That Baltimore is backing up to try to get away from the friendly battleships that are shooting at it. And Bunny shells can arc over that side of the island and are now hitting the broadside of that Baltimore once again. So will we see another citadel? I think so. And that's basically going to be the end of that Baltimore, as a friendly Frederick de Grobe, I don't know, it's German, takes it out. Now, Bunny's switching to the high explosive. This is also a very good round on the ship due to its size. It tends to always do a considerable amount of alpha damage, and it really likes to set stuff on fire. And as you can see by the team chat, the friendly team just stated that the Iowa on the enemy team was AFK. So Bunny can easily push up without having to worry about him as a threat, unless he does happen to come back online. For now, that Bismarck makes a nice target, and somehow that Tashkent just got hit by something, taking out his engine. So that's always nice. Probably made him pop a repair cooldown, unless he did have last stand. So now we have a North Carolina ahead of us. And he's not exactly sailing at full speed, and he's kind of ignoring his flank, since he's shooting on the friendly battleship that is trying to sink the AFK Iowa, rather than pay attention to the real threats in the game. But Bunny is focusing this guy down, since the Iowa, being AFK, can't shoot back. There's a nice 4,000 damage from high explosive. Sadly, no fires. That would be really nice to see right now. Nope, still no fires and not a whole lot of damage. High explosive is still loaded, but that North Carolina is getting behind that island, and the shells don't really have the arc to get over both of these islands. That back turret did blister this island, but those front turrets threaded the needle and set 2 fires on that North Carolina. And it looks like he did have his damage control cooldown, or yeah, his damage control cooldown was up, since he does seem to have immediately put out those fires. Unlike that Bismarck on the other side of the map, who I believe Bunny had already set on fire, and he's now getting pounded from a long range away. That's what this ship really prospers in, is bow on at long range, because it doesn't really allow people to get decent shots into it. The ship is huge and it can be spotted at long range, but the bow armor, like I said, very trollish, and these guns are very accurate at very high ranges. So definitely a strength of this ship, since it's very unmaneuverable and very weak in the side and the rear if it was trying to brawl. There's another fire on the North Carolina. He won't be putting that out anytime soon, and he's still focused right on that friendly ship, though I don't blame him. That friendly battleship is giving him a pretty decent angle most of the time as he tries to sink the Iowa. I mean, Bismarck still sailing around out there, still on fire, perfectly fine. Surprisingly, that AFK Iowa isn't sunk yet. Bunny turns their attention back to the Iowa just to see if they can throw a little bit of damage down and see if they can remove the temptation to shoot at the Iowa for their friendly team. Sorry about that. So hopefully a fire gets set on that Iowa by Bunny so that it'll basically just burn to death. And of course, as I say it, there's a fire, more high explosive out, and now Bunny's looking around to see where the threats are. Looks like some oh wow, that's all high explosive. I thought that would be the Bismarck launching at the beautiful side of this Moskva over here. And of course, there goes the Iowa. But that might be the enemy Des Moines that Bunny had graciously provided information about why you don't show broadside in a cruiser. And now that that smoke's going away, that is proven to be true. It's the enemy Des Moines, which is a very, I'd say strong opponent when it is on a Moskva's flank. Now I'm quite surprised that the Des Moines didn't empty round upon round of armor piercing into the side of the Moskva. And as you can see, Bunny's angling against it to make sure that the Des Moines can't do that. Des Moines has a very fast reload and could easily take out a lot of the Moskva's very high health very quickly. Bunny's also having to angle against that North Carolina that they were chasing down before. Will those shells make it over? Nope. Oh wow, North Carolina slams Bunny from behind, taking out, I believe that's the engine, and just absolutely wrecking the health bar of this heavy cruiser, which is not good news for Bunny, since both the damage repair and damage control are on cooldown, so that fire is going to have to burn for most of the way. Does look like that North Carolina is not getting any more shots on him. Now that Gearing's in a bad spot. He is popping smoke and he's basically surrounded, but what he doesn't know is, or well, what he might have forgotten, is that Moskva has radar, and not just any, it has some of the best radar in the game at close to 10 kilometers. And yeah, he was never getting out of that. Bunny had him pinned in front of the 203s, and the high explosive was loaded. So that is a very dead Gearing. Looks like the enemy team is pushing around the side and trying to push back into B. Now that Bismarck, well, one of our North Carolinas just got taken out, and it's fairly even right now. The enemy team does have a lead, but well, they're kind of mispositioned really. Their North Carolina is way behind them, and he's not participating too heavily in the battle. And their Des Moines is, I believe, either trailing behind or he's sunk. I believe he's sunk. But they're kind of spread out and they're not pushing together, and this Bismarck's just tanking everything for really no reason. And despite Bunny's team not having the battleship advantage, which you would think would be useful in this situation since all the destroyers are kind of low and really it's just cruisers, it's not looking good for the enemy team. That Bismarck's basically dying for no reason, not getting too much done as the Des Moines on Bunny's team kind of trails away from him, kiting him away. Now the enemy destroyers actually making a good fight out of it. He was getting ran into a little bit, but like I said, Bunny has very high velocity shells and can hit these destroyers as they try to maneuver. And as that destroyer's figuring out, the high explosive is very painful. 4,000 damage to the Tashkent as the Bismarck gets taken out by torps from the friendly Atago. And there's some more high explosive. Ooh, only doing 500 damage to that Tashkent. That's not enough. Friendly Battleship takes a whiff, only gets one hit, and Bunny sinks it for the 1,000 of its remaining health, turning their attention to the rune. Now this rune is completely broadside. Bunny has armor piercing loaded in anticipation for this. And there's another citadel. Oh, those poor cruisers. Another shot out, still broadside. Will it citadel? I think so. There's the high caliber to go along with Confederate. One more shell. Looks like the battleship will get it first. Yep, North Carolina has claimed that kill. But that's perfectly fine. There's a Bismarck to burn down. High explosive is already loading. Just about loaded. Damage repair is off cooldown, so Bunny will start repairing some of that missing health, just in case maybe a random citadel comes in. 4,000 damage from the high explosive, but no fires quite yet. Hopefully that'll change here pretty soon. Another 4,000 damage. A lot of good damage being done, but not a lot of fires, and this Bismarck staying broadside to try to get those front turrets swung around. Well, I'm gonna guess he's getting them swung around faster. But it's not really helping him because he's got a enemy battleship and a Moskva firing into his broadside. And as you can see, Bunny has noticed this and it's switched back to armor piercing since the Bismarck is already burning. It looks like the Bismarck is putting that out though. Maybe one more round of armor piercing into his side. And as you can see, the Bismarck is actually focusing the Moskva, which I would too in this situation. Ooh, big hit into the friendly North Carolina from the enemy North Carolina, sniping it from across the map. Another round of high explosive out. There's a fire. Maybe he'll burn down from that. Let's hope so. But as you can see, the Bismarck was kind of focusing Bunny because Bunny was the lower health opponent. And I completely agree with that. Take out the easiest target first and get less guns firing on you. Of course, when that North Carolina became the lower health target, and kind of turned, making him an easy target to Citadel, the Bismarck took him out. But looks like the Bismarck is going to burn down to Bunny's high explosive, and now it's just this North Carolina that they're going to have to worry about. Bunny is, yeah, there's the arsonist for burning down the Bismarck. Now this North Carolina is seeing Bunny's broadside. Like I said, the ship is not stealthy at all, especially when it's firing. But it didn't take the shot, so I'm going to guess he was reloading. Maybe loading high explosive in anticipation for the Yugamo. But he also might have lobbed some shells at that dying North Carolina, or any of the friendly cruisers, who knows. But he is sailing right into sea. Now he could turn and run away, that is entirely possible, but it looks like he is headed in, and he has one of two choices. Left or right around this island. One way is going to be the Yugamo. The other way is probably going to be a spread of Yugamo torps, but they won't be as tight, and it looks like he has chosen the path right into the waiting hands of the Yugamo, with Bunny backing him up. Torps are out. Bunny might get one shot at the side of this North Carolina. He's not heavily armored, so maybe a Citadel? Not quite. 5,000 damage as the Yugamo claims the North Carolina kill. So very, very good job to Bunny, earning numerous awards for just dealing a ton of damage with this Russian cruiser. Or kind of mini battleship. I kind of showed it as not so much of a cruiser as a battleship, all the armor piercing being fired, and just how fast these guns, or the shells I should say, fly through the air. And just a monster game, or yeah, definitely a monster game with the Moskva in kind of a situation that most teams wouldn't have climbed their way out of. So, getting to the first of the end screens, 551,000 credits earned over the course of that battle, Arsonist, Confederate, Dreadnought in a cruiser, and High Caliber, all for the damage and fire burning that Bunny did during the game. 231,000 damage done over the course of that battle. I'm sure a lot of that was to the cruisers, and that 31,000 right on the end, I'm sure a lot of that came from that Des Moines right at the beginning that absolutely got hammered. Another thing to note is the 10 citadels, showing how powerful the armor piercing is in this ship, in that either of its ammunition types should not be taken for granted, I should say. A lot of people like to just high explosive spam out of this and annoy battleships at long range, but as you can see, the armor piercing can be absolutely devastating to anything it goes against. Going on to the team list shows Bunny at the top of the scoreboard with 2700 base experience, and surprisingly, another tier 10 cruiser that doesn't get shown in the limelight a lot, the Des Moines, the American tier 10, trailing really close behind Bunny with 2600. So I'm sure he did a lot of work that game, whether it was just defending bases or doing a ton of damage like Bunny did. So amazing job to him, and very good job to the team at the end that held their own and pushed that enemy team back into the sea cap and absolutely crushed them. Going into the damage screen shows over the 231,000 damage that was done that game, only 69,000 of it was from high explosive. Like I said, these shells do have a lot of alpha damage and they're fairly accurate, but it's not something you can always rely on. The real damage came from the 108,000 that was done with the armor piercing, and I mean, it's just impressive that people don't use the armor piercing. You'll see broadside Zows that are just getting hammered with high explosive from these ships, and they could just be one shot by it. It's kind of insane sometimes. But other than that, 53,000 damage done with just fires, 7,000 short of a witherer, so a little bit more fire damage would have definitely earned one more medal, and just added to the list of medals that Bunny earned during this game. And finally, I did want to show the after battle credit screen, just to kind of show that when you do have a really good game in the tier 10 cruisers, even without the premium camo, which this is with a premium account, they do earn credits quite well if you do know how to play them. Out of the 524,000 credits that Bunny earned through that battle, the profit was 327,000, which that's about 200 off of what Bunny earned, so that's really not a bad loss. I mean, there definitely wasn't negative credits in that. And if you're looking over at the without premium, it still would have been 143,000 credits earned, which isn't huge in any means, but it's still a profit. And I'm sure a decent game will still net you maybe 20,000. It's nothing amazing, but at least you're not losing a ton of credits. A lot of people like to play tier 10 off as, you know, stand around in the back of the map and snipe fests where you're always going to lose credits and you're always going to have to play something else in order to make those credits back. But if you know how to play your ship and you do have a decent battle with a decent team, you're going to earn credits. So, hope you guys enjoyed this replay. I certainly had a lot of fun watching it. And I should have a couple more coming out pretty soon. One that I think you guys will really enjoy. Anyways, I'll see you around and hope you have a good day out there.